Villainous is the game system that brought the joy of seriously asymmetrical gaming to larger groups of players. I mean, us old war gamers, we have been playing significantly asymmetrical games for decades, but now the rest of you can do it also. So, Villainous has been pretty successful, at least judging by how often I see it in stores and for how long I've seen Villainous sets. And now we have a new set, Star Wars Villainous. So this is the base set. It comes with 5 villains. The game is for 2 to 4 players. Each player will select a villain among the ones that are included here. Each villain has completely different objectives, gameplay changes significantly, but still at least the structure of the game turn remains the same. Recently I've seen games that are even more asymmetrical than this, and really there's nothing in common anymore. At least here you're teaching the base game to all of your players, and then each player has to figure out how to make those rules work for themselves. So we have Grievous, we have Moff Gideon, we have Asaji Ventress, we have Darth Vader, of course. Otherwise, what are we talking about? And it looks like there was an accident. He was walking under a ladder when they were building the Death Star, and a bucket of paint fell on his head. And then we have Kylo Ren. Now, these movers are described as battle-worn, which I think explains maybe that Darth Vader thing in some of the specs, but I've heard several players have played it with complaining, especially the young ones say, why are they dirty? Why can't we just clean them? So I guess it's not, this battle-worn look may not be a universal crowd pleaser. I realize I didn't show you Grievous, so here's the guy. Now, each villain, and therefore each player, will have a unique board called a sector. Each board has 2 sides. The bottom side is the dark side, and the other one is the enemy side, where those pesky heroes will try to stop you. And when you will play cards, usually they will go on your side of the sector, representing positive effects, and your own allies that you're placing there, building up your forces to attack those pesky heroes. And those pesky heroes will go again on the top side of the sector to annoy the heck out of you. Suppose that we have Asaji here, and so she will play her own allies, if I can find them, the lovely Night Sisters on this side of the board, and those annoying enemies will go on the top side of the board. Each sector is divided into several locations. Locations have icons which you, the villain, can use when you land on that space, and that's why the presence of heroes on top of negative effects described on the card will also reduce the efficiency of your sector, because now that location only has 2 icons that are visible and available instead of 4. Differently from other Villainous games, here each board has a specific sections called the deep space. And also we have a new kind of card, which is the vehicle. When you receive a vehicle and you decide to play it, you play it in deep space, and then you have a new location to go to, and you have a new effect to use, and you have new icons to use. However, the enemies also have vehicles, and when these are played, they also go in deep space. At that point, you have an option. That is, you can use your ship, if you have one, to engage with the enemy. In which case, that covers the icons, because they are dogfighting out there, they're busy, you cannot use those icons. But you're preventing the penalty that you would receive if there is an enemy vehicle just there patrolling and sabotaging things for you. So if you engage, you lose the icons. If you don't engage, so you leave your vehicle out there in space next to an enemy vehicle, then your hand size is reduced by 1 for each enemy vehicle that is out there in your sector and unengaged. And this is a card-driven game, so it's losing cards, so reducing your hand size can be pretty annoying. You can also use the Vanquish action that normally in other games, and in here also, you can use to send your allies to attack enemies, you can also use the Vanquish action to use a ship to destroy an enemy ship, in which case it is mutual assured destruction. So, we have two kinds of currencies. Ambition, because villains are ambitious, and so each turn you just receive a free ambition at the beginning of your turn. It's like when you go to meetings just for donuts. And then there are credits that we also familiarly call space dollars that you receive for by performing specific actions. So if you're familiar with Villainous games, you can pick up this one quite easily. Again, of course, you have to learn how the unique characters work. So at the beginning of your turn, you will receive an ambition. And, all right, showing up just for donuts and getting the donuts. Then you have to move. You have to move to a new location on your board. You cannot stay in the same location. So if I start there, I have to move somewhere else. After I move to a location, I can use any and all of the icons that are visible there in any order, and the order can't really matter. And so that determines the kind of actions that we're going to have. I can receive 2 credits. I can play an ambition card. That is a card whose cost is indicated here. Sometimes the cost is 0, but you still have to use the ambition card action. And some of the times the cost is considerable. But this effect, if you pause, is pretty good. She's just setting up an ambush and then murdering enemies. And that's what she does. Our lovely Asaji. So, other cards, this symbol here means you can play a card whose cost is not in ambition, but in credits. And that's what you do with that action. Pay the credits, play the card. Vanquish, that is when you can use your own allies that you set up prior to attack enemies in the same sector, and the total strength of your allies must match or exceed the strength of those pesky heroes. That icon means we can discard cards. At the end of your turn, you draw cards only if you have fewer than 4 and back up to 4. And so clearing your hand of cards you don't need by discarding them lets you draw more cards at the end of your turn. Then we have Vanquish. Again, I think I already mentioned Vanquish. Fate, all important. Each character has their own deck of stuff that they're gonna need, allies, effects, the stuff that they really want. And Fate deck, which is more of a mixed thing, meaning usually these are negative effects. You use a Fate action, you target an opponent, you draw 2 cards from their Fate deck, you look at the effect that seems to be the most annoying, and you play it against them, and that's how enemies show up on their board and stuff like that. However, some villains also rely on effects hidden in the Fate deck, and that's what I was talking about. It can be a little bit of a mixed feeling. Sometimes you're happy when people start digging into your Fate deck. Another action is maneuver. When you have allies on the board, you use the maneuver action to move them from one area to another. Again, usually preparing them to set up an attack against those pesky heroes. Now, more in detail, what do our villains do? What do they want to do? Well, Grievous is collecting lightsabers that you like to pry out of Jedi's cold dead hands, and so his idea is he goes around killing Jedis, and again, he collects their lightsabers, so very combat oriented. Moff Gideon wants to capture and experiment on Grogu. Oh, that's mean. That's mean. So he needs to find cards that will allow him to do that. He needs to find Grogu and pull him to the dark side of the board. The Mandalorian may not be too happy about that. And then find the scientists, find lab specimens, and put all of those together in a mix. Shake well, not stir. And booyah, experiment completed, he wins the game. Asaji Ventress has missions to complete, and that makes her the character with the most variety, because depending on which of these missions are drawn, she has to do different things in different order. She also she needs to build up nice armies of nice sisters if she is to have a chance of defeating some of those powerful Jedi. Darth Vader needs to defeat Luke Skywalker, but what that means It's, well, it has to do with feelings. It's not just about killing. A matter of fact, there is a game piece representing Luke Skywalker, badass version, and there will be game effects that may make him conflicted. The idea is he needs to bring Luke Skywalker conflicted to the throne room, bring him there. The Emperor should be there witnessing, and then by using ambition, well, you know what that means. Basically, you had to set up this situation with conflicted Skywalker, Darth Vader, and the Emperor in the room. And Kylo Ren, the most reticent of all of our villains. His objective is to commit to the dark side. He's like, I'm not sure. Is when people click on going on Facebook events, that always means interested. And if they click interested, they're not coming. So that's what he does. He's going to have tokens here on his personal board that start neutral. He's going to try to use side effects to bring them to the dark side. And then other effects will pull them back towards the light side. He's an extremely difficult character to play. Again, just the objectives will be like, man, honestly, like, should you be villainous if you're not sure you want to be a villain? Still, because it's hard to pull into this side, and there are a lot of effects that can take that back and pull them back toward the light side, therefore completely erasing his progress. So this is the general idea of Villainous. This is a general overview of the villains and what they can do and what they want to do. And now, on to the conclusions. I like Villainous in general as a system. I like the implementation of Villainous here. If you don't like or if you love already the system from other games, this is unlikely to change your mind from the point of view of the game system. Because again, that is the lineage, that is the family. You have all the things that made you love or not like the game in the past. I like personally that balance between general mechanics shared by everybody and then unique implementation and then unique objectives and unique gameplay for each individual character. I honestly like the idea of being on the dark side, quite literally here, playing the villains. And, they come from famous franchises, from famous story worlds that we're already familiar with. Somehow it feels less bad than otherwise if you're just this crazy demon destroying people, etc., etc. But if you're Darth Vader, or if you are Thanos, or if you are Captain Hook doing those things, it's fun. So that's just the idea. It makes it more family friendly. So it's a villainous game. What you know about that system applies here. Yes, we have that extra layer of complexity because of the vehicles, and I've seen new players being a bit confused about engage, unengage. Matter of fact, I don't even teach it anymore at the beginning. I teach it as it applies because there aren't so many vehicles. When that happens, so when they get a vehicle out, when the heroes get a vehicle out, then I tell them, oh, these are the options. It seems easier that way. But that doesn't change the game fundamentally. Production-wise, the art is great. I really like it. I like the art on the card. I like the art on the sectors. I wish they called them boards instead of sectors because again, new players tend to think of sectors as a location instead of your own board. As I said, those movers have received very mixed feelings, have received very mixed reviews from the people I played it with. I don't mind and I don't love them. That's fine. Production-wise, there aren't nearly enough ambition tokens. If you play with 2 players, maybe, but I always played it with 3 or 4, and every single time, we ran out of ambition tokens, and we used other kinds of token to make up for that. Which is just a pity, especially because there are other strength tokens that are used as modifiers that are not used nearly as much. But players will hoard ambition tokens because they can. But most importantly, there are tasks, sometimes the one that you need to win the game, that allows you to dump a big pile of ambition tokens. So you start building that up as soon as you can, and you hold on to them as much as possible. Asaji collects ambition tokens, which he completes a mission. So we always run out every time, which is weird that should be the case, that they couldn't give us enough tokens to play the game with 3 or 4 players. So, gameplay's fun. 4 out of these characters are fun to play, but when it comes to this set specifically, there is, to me, a serious problem when it comes to balance. Three of the characters seem to be just very well balanced. That whatever happened, those characters seem to be close to each other. It seems that the challenges are where they should be, and those are Moff Gideon, Asaji, and Grievous. Grievous is one lightsaber from winning, and Asaji completes the last mission, or Gideon completes the weird experiment, and again Grievous pretty close, and Asaji wasn't so far. You could tell that they were like between one or two turns from one another, from winning or losing. Or when somebody else wins, you can see that it was an even race. So you have three characters that are fun to play. The gameplay is pretty fun. It's interesting. Asaji has more variety to me, and that's why I like her better. I also like her from the Clone Wars. But the problem is the remaining two. Darth Vader is way OP. Is just more powerful than everybody else. On paper, when you read a little brochure, it seems it's just going to be as everybody else. A lot of actions to make sure you can drag Luke to the throne room, but then there is a card in his deck. There are two copies of that allows him to drag a Luke from wherever it is to the throne room, making conflicted, and win basically. If you have collected enough ambition, and Darth Vader has that card in their hand, they go to the throne room and they win the game. So Darth Vader pretty much has won every time that he was playing, and so after a while we stopped playing with him. It's just that he wins. He wins in a way that is frustrating and anticlimactic because you're building to your victory with other characters, and he says, "Okay, I win, booyah." With Grievous, we see, oh my gosh, he has 5 lightsabers. He's getting closer to victory. Can we do something to prevent that? And some similar things you can do with other characters. But Darth Vader does his thing, and then out of the blue, the player plays a card, and the game is over. That's just bad gameplay to me. That's just a bad game design decision that was made there. Maybe you remove those cards so that let him win so quickly and suddenly and unexpectedly, because that just leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouth. Everybody else, I guess. But even the Darth Vader players are like, oh, I guess I win. Booyah. And Kylo Ren is way underpowered and pretty unfun to play. In 2022, I thought it was a universally accepted fact in game design that we players have lost aversion. We love tough challenges, but we don't like to work for 20 minutes and have that progress taken away. Work for another 20 minutes, have this progress taken away. I'm okay, people progress faster. It's frustrating if my progress is taken away. It feels like all that I did was irrelevant. And Kylo Ren works that way because it's hard for him to commit to the dark side. And then Rey shows up, and that basically erases a lot of his progress. And that's it. So not only are you gonna lose, and I play a lot of games in which losing was fun, I had a great time, but I definitely did not enjoy playing Kylo Ren because not only was I just bound to lose, but I felt like there's no point for me to take this action and this action because in 2 turns it's just gonna be taken away from me. And so you have a great system overall, but in this set there are just 2 characters that I wouldn't feel like playing anymore. I would not, nor would I want other people to play Darth Vader or Kylo Ren because I know they're not gonna enjoy it. So this set for me, for actually playing and enjoying it, is a 2 to 3 player game because there are 3 characters that are balanced, fun, exciting, and they are what you expect every character in Villainous to be. Somehow, the other 2 of those characters do not work well with the rest of the cast. And maybe they'll be fixed in future expansions. There will be other villains that you can add, and so now you have a larger cast of balanced characters. But as of now, alas, the starter set, or this base set, my feelings are a little bit mixed, again, because of the way 2 of the characters are designed.